What's up, everybody? It's Lamar here with another episode of the Barber Block Podcast. First off, I want to say thank you all for tuning in and supporting the show and, man, getting great value. We've had some great guests on the show, and today is no different. We've got another great guest, some people who are doing some great things in the barbering community. And so we're here live right now at the Nation of Barbers and Beauty Academy here in Phoenix, Arizona. And so we're right on location. We got them here in the building. And so we're bringing to you today Mr. Martillo Harris.
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a good day. Yes, we're with Nation of Barbers and Beauty Academy. We're located here at 1733 East McDowell in the heart of Phoenix, not far from Tempe, downtown Phoenix, everything. So here we give affordable haircuts. We're really big on empowering most of our students and empowering our community and making sure we get out to the community. Number one thing that we teach here at the Barber School is that you are going out to your community, because without the community, you are nothing. And that is very important for barbers to realize, because we can't make money without our community. And so our biggest thing is we want to make sure that our students know the importance of knowing what it looks like to go out there, actually grab people off the streets, you know, and taking them out of their current situations and giving them and mentoring them, even when they get into the shop, making sure that they're mentoring and keeping that relationship, because with their community in general and their partners around here, like, it's really wild, because even for us, can I give a little background story?
Yeah, we're going to get into your background.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah, I didn't mean to jump the gun.
I got lots of questions for you.
All right, go ahead. You know what? I'm going to give it back to you, and I'll fall into place. I'm over here. I didn't mean to take up front apart.
It's all good. It's all good. So we just have a simple conversation. So, you know, you gave us where the location. And so how long have you all been here at this location?
So this location, we opened up on May 8th of 2020. It's wild part how everything happened. We had got the building in February. We were in high hopes of thinking like, oh, we're gonna go straight out of bat into from COVID. This is when we were hearing the rumors of COVID coming to America,
potential shutdown.
Yeah. Right, we've heard about it in China and all that type of stuff, and then it came out to here, and so we didn't know how much it was gonna impact us, and then bam, we got shut down in the midst of just the whole. Everything that was happening, the whole COVID scandal. I don't even want to call it scandal, but the whole COVID thing, just the whole situation. And so it really was hard in the beginning. It was really hard, to be completely honest and being fully transparent. Yeah.
So you're coming in 2020, pandemic is going on. You get the building in February, you open up in May. So that's really still only 3 months time from acquiring the building to getting open. So sometimes it takes people a lot longer to even do that. And to do that in the midst of a pandemic actually is congratulations to you for doing that. So, in those early days, what was it like? Getting started? Was it, I'm sure it was difficult during the time, but what was it like? How'd you get your first student?
Yes. Okay. So this is a very interesting story. So actually, we weren't even supposed to be at this location. Originally, we had came up here to Phoenix. Me and my uncle had moved out here, and my dad, we have our first school going back to Tucson. It was originally used to be called Dunbar Barber Academy. We changed the Nation of Barbers and Beauty Academy. We moved out here, and I was cutting at the ASU dorms every weekend, and my dad came to me and was like, man, since you're already out there every weekend, let's look at opening up a location. I think Phoenix would be a good location for us. So we were right down the street, and there was a building that's probably about 1,200 square feet. We were looking at getting ready to go signing the lease. I was driving back here to go back down to Tucson, and when I passed by here, I saw a sign that said, Barber School $6 cuts. So I called my dad, and I'm like, Dad, we got a barber school right down the street. We're going to be competing with a barber school right down the street. Even though, I don't want to say competition-wise, but, always you look at your surroundings, who you're around.
Right.
So we ended up, my dad's like, hey, go in there and go see what it's about. So I come by, and I looked in here, and it was a empty building. It was vacant at the time. So I called my dad and said, hey, Dad, like, this location is bigger. Let's see what it looks like. It's a little bit on the actual street rather than being in, kind of like not in plain view, not from the street view. So we ended up calling the landlord here, and next thing you know, we got into our lease and ended up being here, and it was like a really wild story. So at the beginning, though, during COVID, the building wasn't 100% ready, so we still had to gut everything completely out.
Yeah.
And everything that you see in here is a product of what we actually had to create ourselves. Because, and that was the cool part about COVID. Like, I don't necessarily think that COVID was a bad thing for everything. It was hard business-wise. However, it was a blessing to us because it gave us time to actually put into the work of building the shop. And I feel like when you put into the work yourself, it means that much more when you got to lay the floors and you got to, mount the TVs and you got to do all that stuff. So it was real hard work. We got 3 months of consistent coming every day, breaking everything down, rebuilding it back up. And then getting our students, it was hard because a lot of people were out of work. They didn't have jobs. Plus, nobody was trying to come get a haircut because they didn't have to. They were inside. We have restrictions here. So that was hard. We were going to all the Walmarts. We were going onto the street, the Home Depots, just anywhere that had a public place, gas stations, passing out cards. Some of those cards, some people didn't want to accept it from us because of COVID. So, it was a little bit hard and rough. First couple students, we actually went to Casa Grande, and we had a couple people from Maricopa coming up here to school. And then as well as just started reaching out. And once we started getting into the communities, passing out cards into like our direct neighborhoods, we started to see more people coming in. And it was really just like even just the first year and a half, 2 years was still rough, still building that up because people were still scared to come outside and, still learning how to get used to this new norm.
Right.
And so once we, by the grace of God, we were able to get through just those struggling moments. And now we've been catching momentum in the last couple months. And really since 2023, it was a go big or go home type of year for us. And that was one thing that we talked about with our team is go big or go home. So we opened up our school out in Casa Grande, which is now located in Eloy. Too as well. So we opened 2 schools in the midst of COVID and all that type of stuff. So go big or go home. And I mean, it's all in for us right now. It's all in.
Yeah, so you guys have been busy ever since getting started. So let's go back a little bit further. Now, you mentioned your dad, so it sounds like you guys have a family history of being in the barber industry.
Yes.
So how did your family get into the barber industry? How did that start?
So my dad was the one who started it off. I always like to allude my stuff to. I'm a believer in the Bible, so I always like to allude my stuff back to Abraham. My dad was like the Abraham, you know what I'm saying? So in our situation, he started cutting hair when he was 7 years old. He was tired of getting messed up by other barbers. Plus, I know when he was growing up, they couldn't afford haircuts at the time. So started cutting his hair. Over time, all these years later, it got to D and Damien and my dad. They opened up their first shop in 1998, the year that I was actually born. And so from there, I grew up in the barber shops. And so when I was 15, I'm not gonna lie to you, I never wanted to be a barber. I never wanted to keep on the generation of being barbers, even though I did see what it created for us. But it wasn't something I was really interested in, especially when you grow up riding tricycles around the barbershop 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day.
Right.
But when I turned 15 and a half, my dad was like, hey, you're going to barber school when you turn 16. I'm like, all right, whatever, we'll see what's good. So I ended up going to barber school, and I'm the firstborn son, and so my little brothers actually took on the profession before I did. When they were 5, they were cutting each other's hair with scissors, messing each other up. Like, we had to cut them balls so many times. But but they took on the interest. And honestly, when I went to barber school, I just wanted to make sure to get through it. I spent most of my summers there when I was during high school. So, of course, that's why I didn't like it, too, because I spent all my summers in barber school. In barber school at the time. But once I got through there, I went to college, and I did the college thing for 3.5 years. My senior year, I changed my major, ended up dropping out because they told me I had to go back to freshman credits because of my major. All my credits didn't transfer over. Wild story. But it ended up falling back on what my dad had told me, hey, this is something that can provide for you. And so getting into the barber industry, like I said, I seen what it did for us, especially out in Tucson. With us opening up our first barber school out there was in 2007. So 2020, in order to open up 13 years later, another place in a bigger city, in a bigger market, was just really a blessing for us. So that's how we really got into it. It was really my dad starting it, seeing my uncles, and then from there it's grown. And now my little brothers are also instructors at the Tucson location. And my son right now, he's only 2 years old, but I'm putting the clippers in his hand so he can get used to the little vibration. So
training him up.
When he turns 16, he has to go to barber school. He doesn't have to be a barber, but he has got to go to barber school. He's got to have a trade to fall back on.
And that's awesome to have a trade, because even if you go off to college, you still have a way to provide for yourself.
Yes.
You have a skill. that you can to use. That
Yes.
no one can ever take that away from you.
Right.
So,
and I don't see robots taking it away from us anytime soon. I see them making robots that can cut hair, but they can't fade it like any of us. Right. I can tell you that.
And plus, there's still nothing like the human connection too. So
I agree.
Until they figure that out, I don't know. Maybe so.
I agree.
So we'll see what the future holds.
Yes.
But, so growing up, what was your first haircut? And how bad was it?
So I actually have pictures of my first haircut. I ain't gonna lie to you. Honestly, for a first haircut, it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
My first haircut was when I was sophomore year. So I had started cutting the hair a little bit before I went to barber school just to see what it was like.
Yeah.
I cut this one African American gentleman that had a high fade top, like a flat top type of cut. I took his sides way too short. I'm gonna be honest. His sides were it was like damn near bald, and then just hair. But I had a little bit of blend in there, so I was proud of it. I tell my students my second haircut though in barber school. I was in barber school 10 years ago. So because of that reason, we didn't have magnetic blades. I don't know. A lot of these new barbers don't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? They have magnetic blades that stay on the actual clipper. Yeah. The ones we had clips. So I was going over somebody's top of his hair. He had like an 8 on top. So for people who don't know, that's about an inch. I'm going over, and the guard gets caught in the hair, and it slips off, and I cut him bald. Nyamp. That's what we call it, the nyamp. You know what I'm saying? I just nyamped him and went to bald. And so he was 9 years old. So I ain't gonna lie, that little kid had a little foul mouth. He cussed me out. He let me have it because he was mad.
Yeah.
However, his mom tipped me $15 extra. So I said, dang, I'm gonna start messing everybody up if I'm gonna give tips for $15 extra after, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so that was my first couple experiences. I really didn't get fully comfortable with hair until really my second summer of barber school, because since I was still in school, I could only go after school and all that type of stuff. So I had less hours of actually practicing. But my second summer I got confident, and then I became an instructor 2 years after I got my license. It was pretty cool because I don't really share this is not something, I'm not a real boastful person. Yeah. But me and my brothers are the youngest in history to ever get our barbers instructors licenses. Got it at 18 years old. For both of us as well. So, the first couple of years was funny because I had students who were older than me, a lot of them who were 25, 26, and they're listening to an 18-year-old teacher trying to tell them who's still learning, coming fresh out of high school, learning how to live his life in general. Yeah. So it was pretty cool, but I had to learn how to earn the respect. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it was kind of cool that they made me do that, because they didn't just respect me just because my dad was who he was. Everybody knew who my dad was, but they didn't know who I was. Yeah. So I had to make a name for myself. So
what were some of those things that you did to earn that respect of the older students to being 18 as an instructor?
So one of the main things I did at the beginning was I made sure I created lesson plans and stuff like that. So I went into it prepared. I wanted to make sure that every day I went into prepared, so that they didn't know I didn't want to let them know that I was winging it. But so the first thing my dad did that I really liked was so one day I remember we were going to U of A. I don't know how we even got the gig to go talk to some of the students in the English class. It was like an English class of 75 people or something like that. It was at a U of A at University of Arizona. I went to it, and he said, hey, I want you to come and tag along with me so that you can see kind of what it's like talking with public speaking. And so I got there, and my dad said, okay, I tricked you. You're teaching the class. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, it's like I said, 18 years old, and I'm sitting there. Well, I was 17 and a half. This is before I got my license. And I'm sitting there you want me to teach a class? I don't even know how to speak from there. And I'm going to be honest, my biggest problem in the past was stuttering. And so I was I'm like Moses, I'm stuttering. I'm like, God, you're telling me to do this, and I can't even speak. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I went up there, got in front of the class, and, they always say, just don't think that, make it seem like people aren't just looking up there, looking at you while you're standing up there in your underwear. I was trying my best to make eye contact, talking to everybody, getting them involved. And I had a very great first class. They really loved it. And then from then on, it built my confidence. So from there, I just went through speaking to people. And just learning how to continue to keep talking better and getting comfortable with the camera, and teaching other people how to be comfortable with the camera. So being an instructor now for the last 8 years has really 7 years has changed my life, and getting to learn how to be prepared for life in general.
Yeah. So so you're 25 now. Is
Yes,
that what
25.
I'm doing the math
Yes,
right?
25.
All right. So at 25, you've accomplished so much. You've got you're an entrepreneur. You're teaching other people's not only how the craft of barbering, but actually life skills. So where do you go from there? What's next, or where do you see yourself?
Well, that's a great question. I love that question. So 5 years from now, I see Nation of Barbers being one of the biggest brands in the world. I really do. And I'm not saying that to boast, but I really I put my heart and soul into this, so I can see it just continue to keep growing. My plan is to get out and do more platform work. I think we're in a space where we try to create where we are the owners of our destiny, and rather I think that is important that we do have people who work for each other, but we also want to be able to teach people how to own, and teaching our people how to own. So I'm gonna be honest. As far as being behind the chair, I probably see myself maybe 5 to 10 more years behind the chair.
Yeah.
But I would like to be able to go to speak to schools and tell people, especially kids in high school. Right now, they tell everybody that you have to go to college. And yes, the right way is to encourage people to go to college. Getting a degree is important. I'm not taking anything away from that. But I was a person that went to school, struggled, and it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do. I know most people that I talked to, a lot of my friends who did go through college, weren't able to get jobs right out of the bat.
Yeah,
and so
they still need experience.
Right. So they not only did they have debt, but they also had trouble finding jobs.
Yeah.
And so I want to go and teach people about the trade of what cutting hair can do for you.
Yeah.
The trade of cutting hair just bought me my first home last year.
Wow, congratulations.
And I appreciate that. And my daughter, take that. My wife, she's a stay-at-home mom. She's now currently working in here at the shop. But before, she was a stay-at-home mom. So having a single person's income and being able to make that happen was all barbering has really changed my life. So I do want to go and speak to more people and show them about the trade. I also want to travel the world and also build NOB. We make our own clippers. So I want to go out there and show, get some more influencers out there, some NOB clippers, and put it in their hand. And I just want them to get to know who Nation of Barbers is. And I think that it was kind of cool, a blessing on how God gave my dad the name Nation of Barbers.
Yeah.
Because you would think that somebody would copyright that already. You know what I'm saying? It's something so generic, but it's really about bringing unity throughout the world. It's not only just about the nation, but it's about bringing the unity of barbers throughout the world.
Yeah.
And showing them that we're more than what everybody says. People don't know that the average barber actually goes to school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we're just teaching people about really there's other ways to be able to make a living other than just going to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on one of our other episodes, we had a gentleman. He actually went through school, has a master's degree, and quit his corporate job, and because he was already a barber.
Yes.
And so he went into barbering full time. And so he said that it was really about the lifestyle, that not only could he still make the same amount of money or even more than he was doing at his corporate job, but he was in control of his lifestyle a little bit more versus the corporate world. So, kind of speak on that. What has been your experience with, being able to create your own lane, your own lifestyle? Because even in barbering, there's so many different directions someone could go into.
There is.
And so if you want to just speak to that for me.
Yes. Okay. So, I'll just talk about for example, my average day. Right now, the cool part that barbering has allowed me to do is, so if I need to travel.
This episode is brought to you by Leonetti's Barber Supply. We've been in the barber supply business since 1968, helping barbers deliver their best haircuts. We're located at 1633 East McDowell Road, Phoenix, Arizona, 85006. We've got everything you need. We've got your clippers, we've got your trimmers, we've got your disinfectants, everything you need to help you deliver your best haircut. Now let's get back to this episode.
I'm even with the students. I'm hey, communication is possible. Is the most important thing. So I communicate with my clients hey, I'm not going to be here this weekend. I don't have to put take sick days. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to take sick days, or I don't have to put in requests for PTO.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to do any of that. It's more of, and that's the thing I will tell most people about being a barber, is that you make your own schedule. Some shops are, you know, they want you to be there on time and all this type of stuff, that which comes within where you work at and all that type. That stuff is important too. But in the midst of that, like, being able to take time off and not have to request it, or as well as my wife went into labor when we had our baby back in 2020, and it was like, hey, I gotta go. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to talk to anybody. As well as the other part too is like, it gives you the ability to make as much money as you want.
Yeah.
And so that's the pros and the cons of barbering in general.
Yeah.
Is because you have to find it to be able to make it fit you, as well as, you know, if your work ethic is not good, you will be able to see it in the actual your day-to-day real-life lifestyle if your work ethic is not good, because you have to go out there and you have to grab the people off the streets, and you have to bring them in, and you have to actually learn how to have people skills and all that type of stuff. So, I mean, I would say, like, that's the biggest difference between a corporate and barbering, as well as I don't get taxed straight off the top for my money right now.
Right.
Like, you know, I have days where, let's, for example, if I'm struggling with money, I come into the shop the next day and I make my $200.
Right.
And I do the same thing. I continuously do the same thing every day. So I'm not ever going without money where I have to wait for a paycheck.
Right.
You know, so that's the cool part about being a barber too as well. I don't have to wait for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Uncle Sam comes back around at the end of the year. So you have to know how to be able to do things. But also being a barber, I also learned as an independent contractor, which most people do go as an independent contractor, unless you're working underneath commission or you're a 1099. For the most part, I'm a independent contractor, so I know how I have certain tax breaks. So I'm learning how to write off things. Yeah. Knowing like, okay, well, I'm a mobile barber, so I have a cut to go all the way to Glendale right now. So I'm gonna write off the miles. I'm gonna write off my gas. You know what I'm saying? I get depreciation of my tools. I get depreciation of the chairs in my shop. Yeah. So I'm learning how to write things off and learning how to have certain tax breaks, because it's actually accessible for you with having a small business. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So, like, there's a lot of things that I think that are, like, really perks of being a entrepreneur, and also going a different route too as well.
Yes, and so also a lot of people, another route people take is to create their own products. Yes. And so you had mentioned earlier that you all had created a clipper, or you have your own clipper out there. So let's talk about that. What does that clipper look like? Or
can I go bring it out real quick?
Absolutely. Yep. All right, so we got it here. So show us the tool, show us the clipper, and tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is the NOB clipper. I'm going to unbox it for everybody. So we have a clipper that has a taper blade. Honestly, it's the longest lasting clipper on the market right now itself. Sorry. So it has a taper blade on it. It's actually the longest lasting clipper on the market right now. We beat out Wall, Andes. It has a runtime. If it was consistently on, a runtime for 17 hours. If it was consistently 17 hours, wow. 17 hours. If it was consistently on. But so honestly, in barber terms, we know we were probably doing, like, maybe busy person 10 to 15 haircuts a day. It will last you about 2 to 3 days on one single charge as well. We're also making another line of barber. I'm sorry. Over here getting caught up. We're also making another line of different types of clippers too as well. We'll be having a fade blade coming out super wet soon, as well as we're going to be making our own trimmers and shavers and all that type of stuff as we're going on. We just recently sold out of these clippers, and it's kind of cool because we were able to get it all the way out to Mexico. So one of our biggest markets was Mexico. Yeah. Going out there, putting it in their hands. You will be seeing us at a lot of barber shows in the future, Connecticut Barber Expo, a lot of barber battles just across the country. We'll be there. We'll also be having our stuff with us too as well. We not only do we make clippers, but we have our own line of T-shirts. We have our own lines of shorts, capes, razors. Low-key, like we have it all. So we're bigger than just an actual school. We're actually a brand, and that's the biggest thing that we promote is we want to let people know we're a brand. We saw all these other big brands like Babulous, who just came up in the last couple of years. And,
Yeah.
And we're Wall. We obviously known a Wall and Andy's, and really our biggest thing was we're like, can we create a brand that, number one, we'll see how many people who really support us as we're going on this, because they can build with us.
Right.
And we wanted people to be able to build with us and see us struggle, and that's why we're transparent when we're struggling and telling people, hey, we want you to be able to see what it looks like to grow with us.
Right.
As we grow on up to one of the biggest brands in the world.
Yes. Man, that's awesome. So more tools coming along the way, and you had mentioned being in the Mexico market. So how did that happen? Tell me about getting into Mexico.
Yes. So my father, he lives out in Mexico right now, part time. He lives out in Puerto Peñasco, which is in Rocky Point.
Yeah.
So as he went out there, he was pushing the grounds and letting people and putting the clipper actually in their hands. The biggest thing was out in Mexico, sometimes there's not a lot of companies that are actually actively putting somebody on the streets and walking with them and doing the same thing like Vic Blends is doing, for example, going out and doing those haircuts like he does for the community. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing. My dad went out there and would grab people on the streets and say, hey, I can cut your hair right now. Let me get you right. And he'll cut them on the street with the clippers. And then after that, he started putting the clippers actually in the barber's hands. As we threw our barber battle last year, it only made it that much better because some parts of Mexico, they don't have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know, especially they have barber communities, but most of their barber battles are going to be in Chihuahua or like Mexico City, where they got to travel 5 or 6 hours just to go do a barber show. So to be able to actually come to them, we wanted to be able to come to them.
Yes. Yes, sir. Well, man, that's great. You guys are in the Mexico market. Dad is in Mexico pushing hard on the ground, and I actually hear he's here.
Yeah. The man himself is actually here today. He happened to come all the way down from Mexico to make it happen. So, you know, he's here today. Give a big shout out to my big pops, Mr. T.O. Harris, and I'm T.O. Jr., so I really stole my name from him.
He didn't steal it, I gave it to him. I don't like my children stealing. Hey, good morning. What's up, big
How you doing,
Bless
man?
you, man. How are you?
All right, good to see you again.
Good to see you as well, bro.
Man, so tell me, what's it like to living in Mexico? What are you doing down there, and what are you doing to push the brand and make it happen?
Well, actually, we're doing the second annual hair battle this year, July 30th. We did the first one last year. We gave them some money, so that's what we're doing. If you take that American green back to any other country, that makes them feel a little better. If you go there taking from them, then they be like, oh, they came here and took my money. So last year we had our first place winner was actually from Rocky Point.
Nice.
Right, and our second place winner was from Tucson. So we expect Phoenix to come get these places this year. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. So, you know, he was giving me a little bit of background of your story, and you know, it was your brothers and uncles and the family history of being in Barbers. So I just want to take it back a little bit there. How did you get involved in being barbering? What was it that point that you decided, you know what, I'm gonna be a barber?
Man, when I was 7 years old, so shoot, I'm 51 now. You know what I'm saying? Still got flat hair, you know what I'm saying? But when I was 7 years old, man, my dad gave me a bad haircut. All you got to do is do something bad to me, and I learned how to do it myself. So he gave me some clippers, and that's how I ended up with my house in Mexico. My son was going down for a visit in what kind of spring break or something, and they told him that he could stay at their house. And then when they got there, the people changed their mind and didn't have room for him. So he came and said, Dad, man, these people don't let me stay, blah, blah, blah. I said, that's all right, we're going to go buy a house.
Yeah.
So we just went and bought one in Mexico on the beach.
Nice. So the first school you opened, that was in Tucson, is that correct?
Correct. Dunbar Barber Academy. I think we opened that one in 1998. 98,
okay. And then at some point you did a name change. Mm-hmm. And what was the reason for the name change and the rebrand?
Well, it's kind of like a blessing from God. I was Kingdom Cuts when I first started. I started with barber shops. That was in 1993 when I first got my barber's license. Then I went to T.O.'s Master Cuts. And I did that because I was one of the only African-American barbers at that time in Tucson, Arizona. And so if I put T.O.'s, everybody think it's their uncle. You know what I'm saying? I never put my face on any other brand. Right. I just put a name out there and pushed T.O.'s. I had a little commercial that I brought on BET at the time and had a little song go behind it, so it was a little catchy. Who got the tapers and fade? Gracious with the razor blade, for all people, come to serve all people. Is T.O.'s for real. Mom, bring your kids down to T.O.'s, because that's what I do once a week. I go to T.O.'s. Any hairstyle, their hair wild, you go to T.O.'s. Every man, woman, and child can go to T.O.'s. You know what I'm saying? so I did that back in the day. So.
Is that on YouTube somewhere? Where can we find that?
Actually,
we can.
See us, we're gonna be performing at the Barber battles. So if you want to come out and
all of
actually
them.
see us rap, we're gonna be performing actually at the Barber.
Yeah,
Nice.
So my son and I and all my family, we have music. I have studios and all kinds of stuff in branding. One thing that I try to teach, I know this way out of the subject of what we're talking about.
You're good, man.
I try to teach them in branding, you are your product, right? And so one of the first things I did when I saw you guys up there, right up there, and like, hey man, you guys are your product, you're a brand, let's brand together. Because I know the understanding of when you have a brand and you brand together with great people, your brand just looks good and it flourishes. But if you have a brand that people are not connected to, you're fooling yourself.
Right.
Right, so you just got to get out there and network with your branding. So I brand with medical marijuana. I brand with CBD. I have, like we said, we have clippers. We sell other people clippers. I mean, but we sell it to you for a discount price.
Right.
Right. I don't compete with my partners. So when Leonetti was up the street, I say, okay, well, I won't sell these type of clippers. First thing I told him, I'll do something different because I don't want to compete with my brothers. I want to actually defend my brothers and come up with my brothers, and then when all the authorities and stuff come, we can actually make our own rules.
Right.
Because that's what it's really about.
Yeah.
Because all licenses, departments, and requirements are people who makes the rules for something to function that would really not be operational without them.
Gotcha.
It'll be all kinds of, so you just put it in structure. And what I try to teach in Nation of Barber is how to structure the world of barbering. I don't think there's anybody who comes up under me that don't make at least 6 figures in this game.
Wow. So what do you think the key is to the 6 figures? Because we hear that a lot, on Instagram and being a 6-figure barber or multiple 6 figures. What are the basic keys?
That's real simple. $9,000 a week. I mean, $9,000 a month for 12 months. That's $98,000. That's the key. I mean, there's no big trick to any type of business. It's learning how to calculate your math.
Yeah.
So if he does 10 haircuts in a day at $40 a day, and he does 5 days a week, that's getting him close to that figure. That's $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of that too is like being a barber gives you different ways for you to have different revenues of income. So it doesn't only just come from cutting hair.
Right.
Like he's a real estate professional as well. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so that's something that you can also get into, selling life insurance. I've seen. Right. So all that type of stuff is different ways that you can also bring into the income, but making your own products, you know what I'm saying? Making your own lines, all that type of stuff. So there's a big avenue for different ways that you can make revenue.
Okay.
This young man is 25 years old.
Yes, sir.
He already is a owner of a $500,000 home in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes,
and he
sir.
bought it in the hardest market because one of the things that I teach them, there is no bear bull market for us.
Yeah.
There's a kingdom market. What God says it is. So we don't change the word of God, and it works effectively for us. So, and I'm teaching them because when he said real estate agent, I gave up my real estate license to become a real estate investor.
Okay.
Right, it gave me more room to move. It gave me a little less
rules
there you go
that you have to abide by. Yeah.
Right. So now I just teach people how to buy real estate, and I mean, if you're in here, how to put your taxes together, how to, you know what I'm saying, set up your LLC, how to set up your 401ks, your IRAs, your annuities. So that, and the biggest thing is insurance. I'm telling every barber, one thing I know that we're going to do is going to die.
Right.
All of us. I mean, unless we live till Jesus come back, if you believe that, you're going to die.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be in a high-risk business, whatever, get you some insurance. And that's the cheapest thing that you can do to ensure that your family will carry on your legacy.
Especially while you're young.
There you go.
The older you get, the more expensive
More
it gets.
expensive to get, but it still will be worth it because we can show you all type of plans that it's going to be worth it for your family. Because how many times have you seen us be able to pass on and then leave our children with money to start a business or stuff like that?
Right.
Most time we live them with having to do a cookout or a yard sale.
GoFundMe.
GoFundMe or whatever. So
Car
my whole
wash.
thing is I'm going to show you why you're barbering. That little money that you're going to be using, and then in 10 years, you're going to cash a portion of that out for your family, and you're going to start you a business.
Right.
So different plans like that.
Yes, sir. So with all of these multiple streams, like how do you handle it all? How do you focus? Is there something that you focus on more than another, or how do you make it all happen?
That's funny. You just saw me my dog got killed on the way in here, and I had to shift, and I had to cry a little bit, and then I had to refocus. I got in my car, recalibrated. A part of being a king or leader, you got to deal with stuff.
Yeah.
So you got to know how to deal with stuff as well. So what I do, I meditate, bro. I pray to God. I believe in Yeshua, Yahweh. And so I pray a lot, and I try to I tell people business is business, and my family is my family, right? So I have buildings all over the place. I will trade my buildings in a minute. I will shut my building in a minute. I will close the door in a minute. I mean, that's business, but I'll never do that to my family.
Right.
So once people are able to separate that stuff, right? I don't own this building that we're sitting in right now, but I rent it for a whole lot of money.
Right.
So me telling you I'm not going to be here long. And some people will say, oh, that's insecurity. But no, I'm telling you, I'm going to buy the building right down the street.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So everywhere that I set up a business
Ownership.
at, because I planned on buying this before, but, it don't keep enough occupancy. So I'm going to buy something that I know I can occupy, and I can make it an asset for a nation of barbers.
Yes, sir. Man, so you've got, sounds like a big vision for you and the family that's already, a lot of it is you're reaping the harvest already, right? And so, you're really setting it up to have a even bigger harvest, right? So
Nation of Barbers will be, brother,
yes, sir.
the biggest barber brand in the nation.
There you go.
Guaranteed.
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 You heard it here first. Hands down.
And it's because I didn't go after the route that I was going to have to use a lot of loans.
Yeah.
I saved money for 30 years. And I saved and saved and saved and saved and saved and saved. And I knew what I was saving for. I was saving for the takeover.
Yeah.
I was saving to put out Barber apps, which we're going to have an app where you'll be able to go to school without even coming to school. So I'm going to be my biggest competition, because you're going to be able to go home if you don't want to come to my school.
Yeah.
But if you want to go to another school, they're going to have to compete with the price that I'm going to be able to give you in all over the world. You're going to be able to go into any place in the world and go to a Nation of Barber Academy.
Man,
Right.
so you've got some big plans, and I would love to just sit with you and pick your brain at some point on some other things, on really just having that structure for basically a life plan, right? And knowing what you're going to be passing down to your children. My children are 17 and 18.
Amen.
And
Amen.
so they're in that age of they're both going to college and all of that. And, I know how my parents are still married and all of that good stuff. So came from a 2-parent household. And so they set us up right.
Amen.
Right. And so my job is to take care not only my children, but their children too. Right.
That's it.
So
We're
that
working
it
on
reaches
legacy.
beyond their generation. And so, man, I celebrate you for doing what you're doing, and because you don't see that too often. And how do what do you think it takes to create or get that word out more to people to structure their life in a way that is more than what you see on Instagram
You have one
and
of my
things
books
like that.
around here. I have a book called Balance, Greatest Chase Ever, and I kind of talk about what it takes. It takes you to be able to come outside yourself, bro. Mm-hmm. And I was just telling my brother Damien outside, I say all the great men that I inspire to be, like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Gandhi. These people don't really live that long.
Right.
Right? They live for purpose.
Yeah.
So me, I'm one of those person that you might say, oh man, your eyes red, you need to slow down, because I drive 112 miles an hour. You get what I'm saying? But I say, if I told the officer this morning, if I drive 112 miles an hour, yet I never got into a car accident, But the guy over here drives 60 and he been into 10 car accident. I'm proving your feasibility over your probability, bro. and so that's the way that I've always live life. If they tell us that it's not feasible or probable for us to do something as a culture, I try to disprove that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, so tell us about the book. I see he's got it here.
So the book, Balance, The Greatest Chase Ever, Son of King. This is all go with my gospel album. I got a gospel album that I put out. So basically, it's telling you how I trained my son. So if you look at the cover of the book, I'm holding the world. It's me holding the world, but inside the world, it's just me.
Yeah.
Because that's the only person in this world that I can control.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's just telling me to remember that everything else is out of your control. But if you try to control your world, you get the stairway to heaven.
Wow.
So basically, I was trying to tell them outside of religion, outside of just what I believe, this is just what I believe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the experiences, but it should cause you to want to write a book and do better because there's 50 mistakes in here.
Yeah.
So if I can write a book that have 50 mistakes in my little old black stuff from Petersburg, Virginia, you should be able to write a book with 49. Just outdo me. You know what I'm saying? Just continue to outdo me, but just write it down. Yeah. Write it down, write your vision, make it plain.
Right.
And then when the people see it, they'll run with it.
Yes.
And I told my pastor yesterday, I said, one of the most cockiest thing to do is to write a freaking book while you living. That's telling people that you think you got something to say. That's telling people that you hold yourself at a certain stature that you think people should hear what you got to say.
Yeah.
And I say the humbleness is knowing that I don't have anything more to say than you, but I still write it down.
Just wrote it down, yeah.
That's it. My story is no bigger than yours.
Right.
It's no more important than yours.
Right.
My vision is no bigger than yours and no more important than yours, but I just willing to structure it.
Right.
One of the biggest things some of the leaders told us this year, Big Daddy, is you have to be, what his name, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all of these people, if you listen to and I wouldn't call them great minds, they the great money minds of America. You know, George Soros, they tell you compliance. We are used to not trying to comply. We try to sneak because we don't think compliance is going to get into a certain point. And it won't until you can actually, you know what I'm saying, comply.
Right.
Most of us can't comply off the bat. But we got to get the closest to compliance that we can to live successfully in this country.
Right.
That's my job, is to teach people like you and I to get closer to compliance so that we can get the checks, so that we can get the money, so that they don't come chasing after us after we get the money.
Right.
Because we're in compliance. And there's no way that you won't be a millionaire in America if you comply now. That's what they made it. They made it for the top 20% to be millionaires and everybody else to struggle. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's just a wealth of knowledge, man. You have a great dad here. And, man, I just continue on listening to him and take the knowledge and, continue to grow, and looking forward to seeing what you all do in the future here. And, man, actually, I got one last question.
Come on, bring
If
it.
you've got one last piece of advice that you would give to anyone, that, like, this is it, the bottom line, what would you say that is?
The bottom line is find something bigger than yourself to believe in, right? And if it's just yourself, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to always reach peak and valleys but if you find something that's sustainable to believe in, you'll keep growing. I was just telling my wife, I am a stickler for growth. If I can't grow you, then I'll try to give you to somebody else to grow you. But find something to believe in that's going to cause you to continue to grow. And when you grow out of yourself, boom, you'll become a butterfly, fly on wings.
Yes, sir. Well, we thank you all. I normally say thank you for stopping by, but I guess we stopped by this time, right?
And you're welcome anytime. This is your shop now, all right?
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you all for tuning in today to another great episode. Man, this was a wealth of knowledge. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow us, Instagram, all that good YouTube stuff. You know what to do. Hit the notification bell. Make sure you get notified of all the upcoming episodes. Don't forget to check out the event that's happening right here at the school, July 2nd.
July 2nd, baby.
Coming up, the battle. Man, come show your gifts. Come show your talents here. Get involved with the community, and we'll see you then. Peace out.
Peace. Nation of Barber everywhere.